Hi everybody, today we're gonna be talking about redfall. As you know, redfall is a game, if you can call it that. It's a downloadable object to your PC that can run that some people qualify as a game. It's not very good. It's actually quite worse than what people are saying. This won't be a long video by any means in comparison to some of the other ones, as I don't have a lot of positive things to say about redfall. Not a lot of things in general, actually, but we will be talking about them. So stick around for me talking about redfall and how my favorite studio in gaming has made something that I fucking hate. Redfall. Where to begin? If it wasn't because I didn't really care, I would be talking a little bit about the performance issues. I personally have had it running fine enough, with a little bit of lag here and there because of a intense fog mechanic where the entire screen just becomes full of fog that, well, should obscure everything, if for some reason doesn't. Or we could talk about the broken AI. Let's do that. Because you see, in Redfall, a lot of the time, you'll be shooting and fighting for your life, for your comrades' lives. But there isn't anything to be scared of, because the pathfinding on the AI is bafflingly bad. As sometimes they'll get stuck on each other if they aren't stuck on door frames or anything else, and if they finally do break free and they do start attacking you, then don't worry, my friend, because it will require them to hit you with their bullets. And usually what happens is that they'll look directly at you with their sniper rifle or shotgun and then proceed to miss again and again and again. And well, it sort of ruins the entire experience actually, because you never really feel tense. Most of the time, because the AI is unintelligent, to put it very simply. I could sit on top of a roof with a non-silenced weapon and just shoot people in the head, just popping skulls left, right and center and never get discovered. I technically did most of my playthrough stealth, just by never having a silencer, well, having it once but not really using a silencer, nor was it my intention. In combat in general, when you kill a vampire or mythical creature with the exception of the blood sac, you will have to go and stab them. It's the finisher mechanic from Destiny, but on every enemy, and it is about as annoying as it sounds, because if you don't put the spear into them, they will regenerate their full HP, and it gets so repetitive when they do that, because you see, you'll have to damage them again and then put your stake into them. Now, at least usually with looter shooters, they have bland combat, but the loot is where it shines. In Redfall it doesn't. In Redfall, the loot is just a stat stick. It is 50% extra crit chance. It is that type of a system, and that's never a good thing. Especially not if you want something that's more creative or unique. But that didn't seem to be exactly what Redfall went for. Now, the story in Redfall isn't any particularly good either. It's just standard fare. Big rich people find out that they might be able to live eternally by sacrificing people and becoming vampires, specifically through one girl's blood that is apparently blood related to other main villains in the game. And then they experiment on her, and some guy experiments on her daughter for some reason, but that's never really fully explained. And it just becomes this sort of tangled mess of, haha, they're evil, now go and kill them. It becomes a justification for already rather weak story about nothing really, because nothing seems to have a personality in it. You see, Redfall is the equivalent of can I copy your homework, but worse. Because you see, normally in a looter shooter at least the main characters have some sort of personality. In any loot game really. Like Borderlands, you have a lot of personality. You have Mordecai, you have Flake, you have so many other characters that sort of try to add something unique. In Redfall, one of the characters are quite literally, when you inspected them, just being described as the ex-girlfriend of a vampire. Seriously. That is the best that they could come up with, or streamer. an e-influencer who does ghost hunting, right? Or what I consider the most interesting, the edgy guy in the corner who used to be an ex-mercenary, and then you have an ex-field medic, right? I picked the ex-mercenary, and the main issue with him is that he's an absolute dickhead. I really do not like him, specifically because every time you use your ability where you send your bird out to spy and scout for you, he calls it a name. It's like, oh, go on worm bucket, and it becomes this thing where he's just needlessly mean to the bird for no reason. Because the bird never says anything. It does creak occasionally in the main story, but that's also about it. And when the gunplay already is bad and whatnot, it doesn't help that the main characters have nothing for them. Like, they have nothing going for them. They are unlikable. They're generally not the best. Well, the game is not the best looking, but they're generally not the most interesting characters either. And that's just an issue when nothing really is going forward. Because you see, the comparison I said when I said Redfall is just a game that wants to, be the can I copy your homework but worse, I really mean it. In every aspect it takes from games like Borderlands or Destiny and just does it worse. Like, as an example, the legendary loot are literally just stats, or how all the characters seem like dickheads or genuinely uninteresting. I couldn't care what happened to Redfall, let it fall into the vampire's hands, I say. But what to me is most insulting is that it's Arcane. It's Arcane Austin, to be precise. Arcane Austin made other really good games. They made Deathloop, that in my opinion was a hidden MVP in gaming. It's one of the few first-person games to actually use the invasion mechanic from Souls. And it's such an interesting mechanic that it's a shame it doesn't get used more. And they used it, and it was good. It had a purpose. It had a unique feature to it. Redfall doesn't. Redfall is an open world game with loot, with a very empty world where you just walk around until you find an NPC walking into a wall, which you then put a bullet through his brain, 20 suffering. You then get XP that you spend on your skill tree that can further boost your damage. And then you find the legendary and you go, oh, let's go, the legendary that you fought a mini boss for, that in Borderlands will do something cool, like you'll have a different spray pattern as well as set fire to people. In Redfall it's just gonna be a slightly different altered skin, and it's gonna heal you when you kill, or it's gonna do 50% more crit damage. Which in and of itself doesn't sound bad if it wasn't for the rest of the game being as bad as it is. And the issue is, even if you remove the performance and you fix that and all of that, you'll still just be left with the most generic copy-pasted game ever to exist. Because something can be so bad, it's good. My favorite example of a game that I consider absolutely ass, but actually is really good, is Elix. Elix, the first one, is a game where your character shows no motion throughout the entire game. And that's because in the game, he is on a drug called Elix that removes his ability to show emotion, so it makes sense. The combat in it is absolutely clunky, but the world building is super interesting. Because it's this sort of post-apocalyptic sort of sci-fi world, where you also have some outright Viking-looking dudes that absolutely hate technology, including your inventory. And it becomes so charming that it's memorable. It stays with me. Redfall doesn't. Redfall is just generic. And that's the issue, right? You can make something that's unique and still bad. But at least you gave it a genuine attempt at making something interesting, right? Redfall doesn't. I can't see a purpose with this. Something unique. There's nothing. And I have tried. I completed Redfall. Less than 4% of the players who purchased this game completed it. And it's one of the first games to be going for the $70 mark, and it's of this quality. It's actually shameful. And the last thing I want to talk about, because I do not like being this negative on this channel in general, but Redfall was a game I really did look forward to. One of the things I have to mention is that Phil Spencer recently did an interview where he mentioned they do eternal reviews, like they do it internally as well, where they like have their colleagues watch that game and then they try to critique it, and they scored it in like the 70s, 80s. How can you look at this and think this is anywhere deserving of just being in the 70s? It's not deserving of being in the 40s, my guy. And obviously, that's been a little bit heated. Redfall overall managed to just be another game. It's boring, it's generic, it has not a whole lot going for it. But I hope one day they'll patch it and they'll update it and they'll add to it and they'll make it interesting. But don't do paid content until then. Focus on fixing the game and then we can talk about microtransactions if that's really what you want to do. Because otherwise Redfall will die. It'll just be another dead looter shooter. And that would be a shame because Arcane Austin does have the capacity and ability to create really interesting games. And they have done it before and I'm sure they will again. That's it for me. I'll be doing a little bit of a rant after this, so I hope you can enjoy that if you want to. If not, that's okay. But yeah, I'll catch you all in the next one. If you are gonna stick around for my little rant, and if you are, then well, let's just get to it. So that was the video. Next up is gonna be the Iconoclasts, which I probably also did butcher. And that's a 2D Metroidvania indie game that looks really awesome. It was recommended by a reviewer of the channel, and well, I like it so far. I've started to play it a little bit. And it looks really good. It's visually stunning and whatnot, so look forward to that. I find it to be super interesting and very much out of my comfort zone when it comes to games. If you have any suggestions for anything you would like me to check out, feel free to leave them. I'm always up for it. And if you're wondering why I didn't mention anything about Redfall's soundtrack, it's because it doesn't have much of one. So there you go, that's about it from me. If you liked it, leave a like and all that good stuff. If you don't, that's also okay. I'm just happy you were here. Good night folks, and I'll catch you later.